The cold metal floor of the starship vibrated softly under Admiral Jinwoo Park's boots as he walked down the long corridor. Two alien guards flanked him on either side, their blue skin gleaming under the bright lights. They were tall, much taller than any human, with 4 arms and eyes that never seemed to blink. Jinwoo had fought creatures like these before, but now they were his escorts, not his enemies. The corridor seemed to stretch forever. Jinwoo's mechanical left arm made a quiet whirring sound with each step. The metal fingers flexed automatically, a habit he had developed over the past 3 years since losing his real arm in the final battle. The scars on his face pulled tight when he frowned, a web of pale lines across weathered skin that told stories of plasma burns and close calls. "Admiral Park," one of the guards spoke in broken human language. "We arrive soon." Jinwoo nodded but said nothing. He had learned long ago that silence often revealed more about his enemies than words ever could. These aliens were nervous. He could tell by the way they kept glancing at him, by the tension in their shoulders. Even now, years after the war ended, they still feared what humans might do. The corridor opened into a massive chamber filled with floating platforms and strange technology. Screens covered every wall, showing images of distant star systems and alien worlds. In the center sat a curved desk made of some kind of crystal that glowed with soft light. Behind it waited his interviewer. Velthar looked like a living gemstone. Its body was made of transparent material that shifted colors from blue to green to purple as it moved. When it spoke, the sound came from speakers around the room rather than from any mouth because it had no mouth to speak of. "Admiral Jinwoo Park," Velthar's voice echoed through the chamber. "Thank you for agreeing to this interview." Jinwoo took his seat across from the crystal being. The chair was too large for human proportions, clearly designed for bigger species. He settled back and studied his interviewer with the same careful attention he had once used to study enemy battle formations. "Before we begin," Velthar continued, "I want our viewers to understand the significance of this moment. Today marks the first time any human military leader has agreed to speak publicly about the Third Galactic War. Admiral Park commanded human forces during some of the most decisive battles in galactic history." The screens around the chamber lit up with images of space battles and burning worlds. Jinwoo recognized most of them. He had been there when those fires started. "Our broadcast is reaching 17 star systems," Velthar explained. "Representatives from 43 different species are watching. Many of them fought against humanity during the war. Others witnessed the aftermath. All of them want to understand how a primitive species from a single world managed to defeat the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy." Jinwoo's expression remained unchanged. He had heard these questions before, from prisoners of war and enemy commanders who could not believe what humans had accomplished. The answer was always simpler than they expected. "Let us begin with your earliest memories," Velthar said. "Tell us about first contact. What was it like when your species first encountered the hegemony?" Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment, remembering. When he spoke, his voice was steady and clear. "I was a young lieutenant then, stationed on orbital platform 7 above Earth. It was supposed to be routine patrol duty. We were still new to space travel, barely 50 years since our first moon landing. Our weapons were primitive, our ships slow and clumsy compared to what we would build later." The screens around the chamber showed images of early human spacecraft, bulky vessels held together with metal plates and hope. The morning the hegemony arrived, I was drinking coffee in the observation deck, Jinwoo continued. Real coffee grown on Earth. It was expensive to transport to the orbital stations, but we considered it worth the cost. I was watching the sunrise over the Pacific Ocean when the sensors started screaming. His mechanical fingers drummed against the crystal desk, a steady rhythm that matched his heartbeat. At first we thought it was a malfunction. The readings showed impossible things. Ships larger than our biggest cities, moving faster than anything we had ever built. Energy signatures that made our most powerful reactors look like candle flames. Velthar's crystalline body shifted to a deeper blue, indicating increased attention according to the translator notes Jinwoo had studied. "What was your first reaction?" the interviewer asked. "Terror," Jinwoo answered without hesitation. "Pure simple terror. We knew immediately that we were looking at technology centuries ahead of our own. Any military officer would have reached the same conclusion. We were outgunned, outnumbered, and completely unprepared." The screen showed tactical displays from that first encounter. Human ships scattered like leaves before a storm as massive alien vessels emerged from hyperspace. But terror has a funny way of changing people, Jinwoo said. It can break you or it can strip away everything except what matters most. For humans, what mattered most was simple. Our families were down there on that blue planet, and these strangers had come with weapons. His voice grew harder, the tone that had once commanded fleets across star systems. The hegemony sent us a message that day. It was translated into our language, very polite and official. They explained that they were representatives of the 12 most advanced civilizations in this sector of the galaxy. They had come to offer humanity membership in their alliance. That sounds reasonable, Velthar observed. Jinwoo's scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. It would have been, if membership had been optional. The message went on to explain that species who refused to join the hegemony were considered threats to galactic stability. Such threats, they said, required immediate correction. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of alien technology. On the screens, images of burning worlds flickered past. Other species that had refused the hegemony's generous offer. They gave us 72 hours to surrender our military forces and accept hegemony oversight of human government, Jinwoo said. They were very clear about what would happen if we refused. They had done it before to 17 other species. How did humanity respond? Jinwoo's mechanical arm whirred as he leaned forward. We did what humans have always done when someone threatens our home. We got ready to fight. Jinwoo's eyes grew distant as he remembered those first desperate hours after the hegemony's ultimatum. The crystal being across from him remained perfectly still, waiting for him to continue his story. 72 hours, Jinwoo repeated slowly. That was how long we had to prepare for the end of everything we knew. Most species would have spent that time arguing or panicking. Humans spent it working. The screens around the chamber displayed images of Earth's orbital installations, massive rings of metal and glass that had taken decades to build. They looked peaceful in the starlight, like jewelry adorning the blue planet below. Captain So-Young was commanding Orbital Defense Station Alpha, Jinwoo continued. She was the youngest captain in the fleet, only 32 years old. The politicians wanted to evacuate the stations, pull back to Earth's surface and hope the hegemony would show mercy. His mechanical fingers closed into a fist. So-Young refused. She said if the aliens wanted our world, they would have to go through her first. She had 800 people under her command and exactly 47 combat vessels. Most of them were converted mining ships and cargo haulers with weapons bolted onto their hulls. Velthar's crystalline form shifted to a curious yellow color. Against how many enemy ships? The first wave was 200 vessels, each one larger than our biggest battleship, Jinwoo replied. Their weapons could punch through our strongest armor like paper. Their shields could stop anything we could throw at them. By every military calculation, the battle should have lasted 10 minutes. The screens showed tactical displays from that first engagement, red dots swarming around a small cluster of blue ones like sharks circling wounded prey. But Captain So-Young had studied every recording of hegemony battles we could find. She noticed something the analysts had missed. The aliens fought like they were playing a game with rules. They formed perfect formations, followed predictable patterns, and always tried to minimize their own losses. Jinwoo leaned back in his chair and for a moment, the ghost of a smile crossed his scarred face. Humans don't follow rules in a fight for survival. The images on the screens changed, showing the chaotic swirl of the first battle. Human ships moved in impossible patterns, breaking every principle of space combat doctrine. So-Young ordered her ships to ram the enemy vessels, not as a last resort but as an opening move. The hegemony commanders had never seen anything like it. One converted mining ship, the Seoul Express, crashed directly into their flagship's bridge. The pilot, Lieutenant Taeho, transmitted one message before impact. He said his ship was a gift from Earth. Velthar's color deepened to an interested blue. This seems wasteful of resources. That's what the hegemony thought too, Jinwoo agreed. They expected us to fight like them, carefully preserving our forces and retreating when losses became too high. Instead, every human pilot who died took at least 2 enemy ships with them. The screens displayed intercepted alien communications from the battle, streams of text in various alien languages with human translations scrolling beneath. We found these recordings later, Jinwoo explained. The hegemony fleet commander kept asking his superiors for new orders. He had never encountered an enemy that treated their own lives as weapons. Their psychological profiles of other species had never prepared them for that. The battle raged for 6 hours instead of 10 minutes. When it ended, the orbital stations were gone. But so was most of the hegemony's first wave. Captain So Young survived, Jinwoo continued. Her command pod was found 3 days later drifting near the moon. She had suffered severe radiation poisoning and lost her legs, but she was alive. The first thing she asked when we found her was whether Earth was still safe. The chamber fell, quiet as Velthar processed this information. But surely this was just the beginning, the interviewer said. The hegemony had vast resources. Jinwoo nodded grimly. They sent the second wave 1 week later. 500 ships this time, and they had learned from the first battle. They stayed at long range, bombarded the planet from a distance. We couldn't ram ships that wouldn't come close enough. The screens showed Earth's surface under bombardment, cities burning and continents scarred by alien weapons. That's when Corporal Minho made his stand, Jinwoo said. He was stationed at Luna Base, our last defensive position. The hegemony needed to capture it intact, to use as a staging area for the final assault on Earth. Images of Luna Base appeared on the screens, a sprawling complex of domes and tunnels carved into the moon's surface. Minho was a maintenance technician, not a soldier. When the aliens breached the outer defenses, he was alone in the reactor complex. The base commander had ordered evacuation, but Minho stayed behind. Jinwoo's voice grew quiet, respectful. For 6 hours, he held off an entire alien assault team using nothing but maintenance tools and his knowledge of the base's systems. He turned the ventilation system into a weapon, flooding corridors with superheated steam. He rigged the gravity generators to create crushing fields in the main passages. He used the base's communication array to broadcast false surrender signals, then triggered explosions when the aliens let their guard down. The screens showed security footage from Luna Base. Grainy images of a small figure in maintenance coveralls moving through darkened corridors while alien soldiers stumbled into trap after trap. The hegemony troops called for reinforcements 3 times. Jinwoo continued. They had conquered worlds with less effort than it took to stop one human with a toolkit and an idea. What happened to Corporal Minho? Velthar asked. He died when the reactor core overloaded, Jinwoo replied simply. He triggered it manually to prevent the aliens from using the base. The explosion was visible from Earth, a new star in the night sky that lasted for 3 days. The chamber was silent for a long moment. But his sacrifice gave us something more valuable than another defensive position, Jinwoo said finally. It gave us our first real victory. 3 days later, at the Battle of Titan, we used his tactics on a larger scale. We turned Saturn's moon into the biggest kinetic weapon in human history. Jinwoo's mechanical arm whirred softly as he gestured toward the screens. That was the day the galaxy learned what humans could do when they stopped playing by the rules. Velthar's crystalline form pulsed with soft light as Jinwoo paused to collect his thoughts. The alien interviewer had been recording for over an hour, and the weight of the memories was beginning to show on the Admiral's face. The Battle of Titan changed everything, Jinwoo said finally. After that victory, we were no longer just defending our home. We were hunting the ones who had tried to take it from us. The screens around the chamber displayed star charts showing human expansion routes, thin lines reaching out from Earth's solar system like the legs of a spider spreading across the void. The hegemony expected us to celebrate our victory and then negotiate, Jinwoo continued. That's what every other species had done after winning a major battle. They would pause, consolidate their gains, maybe demand better terms. But Lieutenant Heejin had a different idea. Images appeared of a young woman with short black hair and intense eyes, standing before a holographic tactical display. Lieutenant Heejin had lost her entire family in the bombardment of Earth, Jinwoo explained. She approached High Command with a new kind of warfare doctrine. She called it persistence hunting, after an old human technique for catching prey. Velthar's color shifted to curious yellow. Please explain this concept. On ancient Earth, humans used to hunt animals much larger and faster than themselves, Jinwoo said. We couldn't outrun them in a sprint, but we could follow them for days, weeks if necessary. We would track them until they collapsed from exhaustion, then move in for the kill. The screens showed primitive humans chasing various Earth animals across vast landscapes, a relentless pursuit that never seemed to end. Heejin adapted this strategy for space warfare. Instead of fighting pitched battles, we would follow hegemony fleets wherever they went. We would attack their supply lines, raid their outposts, and disappear before they could respond. Every time they turned to fight us, we would retreat. Every time they tried to rest, we would attack again. Jinwoo's mechanical arm gestured toward the tactical displays now showing human ship movements, seemingly random patterns that slowly formed a deadly web around hegemony positions. General Dongsik was the first to implement Heejin's strategy on a large scale, Jinwoo continued. He took a fleet of fast attack ships and began what we called the Outer Rim campaign. For 8 months, his ships struck at hegemony installations across 12 star systems. The screens displayed a montage of battles, brief flashes of combat followed by human ships vanishing into hyperspace before enemy reinforcements could arrive. The hegemony had never faced an enemy like this, Jinwoo said. They were used to territorial wars, fought over specific worlds or resources. But we weren't trying to hold ground. We were trying to break their will to fight. Images of destroyed supply convoys and burning space stations filled the screens, each one bearing the scars of hit-and-run attacks. Sergeant Ye-jun was one of our best infiltration specialists, Jinwoo continued. He spent 3 months living aboard a hegemony supply ship, disguised as one of their maintenance crew. He learned their language, studied their culture, even made friends among the alien workers. The screen showed a bearded man in alien clothing, his human features partially obscured by prosthetic makeup that made him look like one of the hegemony species. When the ship docked at their main supply depot, Ye-jun sabotaged their fuel reserves. But that wasn't the real mission. While the aliens rushed to contain the explosions, he uploaded a virus into their communication network. For the next 6 weeks, every message sent between hegemony commanders was intercepted and decoded by human intelligence. Velthar's crystalline body flickered with rapid color changes, indicating surprise. This infiltration was possible? Humans are very good at adapting, Jinwoo replied. We had studied captured hegemony equipment and learned to mimic their technology. More importantly, we learned to think like them. Ye-jun wasn't just disguised as an alien. He actually became one, at least on the surface. The screens showed recordings from hegemony security cameras, images of Ye-jun working alongside alien crew members who never suspected his true identity. But the psychological impact was even more important than the intelligence we gathered, Jinwoo continued. Word spread through the hegemony fleet that humans could be anyone, anywhere. Their own soldiers began suspecting each other. Unit cohesion broke down as species that had fought together for centuries began to doubt their allies. Jinwoo paused, his expression growing darker. We started broadcasting recordings of our raids across hegemony communication networks, he said. Not to boast, but to show them what humans were capable of. We wanted them to know that we were coming, that we would never stop, that we would follow them to the edge of the galaxy if necessary. The screens displayed one such recording, shaky footage from a helmet camera showing human soldiers moving through a captured hegemony facility. The aliens they encountered seemed more terrified than angry, backing away from the humans as if they carried some kind of plague. The hegemony military started calling our tactics ghost warfare, Jinwoo continued. We would appear without warning, strike hard, and vanish before they could respond. Their commanders never knew where we would attack next because we never attacked the same type of target twice in a row. Tactical displays showed the seemingly random pattern of human attacks, strikes that appeared chaotic but followed a deeper logic that the hegemony could never quite understand. The breaking point came during the siege of Proxima Station, Jinwoo said. It was their main military headquarters for this sector, protected by the largest fleet they had ever assembled. 2,000 ships, all of their best commanders, enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds. The screens showed the massive space station, a city-sized structure surrounded by rings of defensive platforms and patrol ships. General Dongsik didn't attack the station, Jinwoo continued. Instead, he attacked everything else. Every supply convoy, every courier ship, every maintenance vessel that tried to reach Proxima Station. For 3 months, he turned their greatest fortress into their greatest prison. Images flashed past, showing the systematic destruction of the supply network that kept the station operational. The hegemony fleet had enough supplies for 6 months of normal operations, Jinwoo explained. But they were forced to send out patrols constantly, searching for our raiders. The patrols used fuel and ammunition they couldn't replace. Worse, half the patrols never came back. The final image showed Proxima Station's surrender, its lights dimming as the massive structure powered down in defeat. When they finally surrendered, we discovered that they still had ammunition and fuel for weeks of fighting, Jinwoo said, but their morale was completely broken. The alien commanders told us they couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function knowing that humans might appear at any moment. Velthar's colors had shifted to deep blue, indicating what the translation software labeled as profound consideration. This was when other species began to fear humanity? The interviewer asked. Jinwoo nodded slowly. Word traveled fast. Soon, entire hegemony fleets would retreat just from reports that human ships had been spotted in nearby systems. We had become the monsters they told stories about to frighten their young. The Admiral's scarred face hardened, and we were just getting started. Jinwoo's mechanical arm stopped its constant whirring as he clenched his artificial fist. The lights in the chamber seemed to dim as he prepared to tell the darkest chapter of the war. The hegemony leaders realized they were losing, he began, his voice heavy with old pain. Their fleets were scattered, their supply lines broken, their commanders afraid to leave port. So they decided to change the rules of engagement. The screens around the chamber displayed images of peaceful human colonies, green worlds with cities that sparkled in the light of distant suns. They developed a biological weapon, Jinwoo continued, a plague designed specifically to target human DNA. It was invisible, odorless, and spread through the air. Once released on a world, it would kill every human within 72 hours. Velthar's crystalline form flickered with rapid color changes, cycling through the spectrum in what the translator identified as distress signals. The first world they tested it on was New Sol, Jinwoo said, a farming colony with 3 million civilians. They had no military installations, no strategic value. The hegemony chose it precisely because it was innocent. The screens showed orbital images of the colony world, vast fields of crops surrounding small cities connected by transport lines. It looked peaceful, prosperous, safe. I was commanding the defense fleet in a nearby system when we received the distress call. Jinwoo continued. Commander Yu Jin was closer. She had 24 ships under her command, mostly escort vessels and cargo haulers, nothing that could stand against a hegemony battle fleet. Images appeared of a middle-aged woman with graying hair and steady eyes, standing on the bridge of a small warship. Yu Jin didn't hesitate, Jinwoo said. She knew it was a trap, knew the hegemony was waiting for our response. But 3 million people were dying, and she was the only one who could reach them in time. The screens displayed tactical readouts from the battle, showing Yu Jin's small fleet racing toward New Sol, while a massive hegemony force moved to intercept them. The biological weapon had a 72-hour incubation period, Jinwoo explained. After that, nothing could save the infected. Yu Jin had exactly that long to evacuate 3 million people using ships designed to carry maybe 50,000. Jinwoo paused, his scarred face reflecting the glow from the surrounding screens. She knew the mathematics were impossible. There weren't enough ships, weren't enough hours in the day, but she tried anyway, because that's what humans do. We try impossible things and sometimes make them work. The images showed civilian transports loading desperate families, children crying as they were separated from infected parents, medical teams working around the clock to identify who could still be saved. For 60 hours, Yu Jin's fleet ran a continuous evacuation, Jinwoo continued. Her ships made round trips without stopping for maintenance or rest. Pilots flew until they collapsed at their controls, then were replaced by mechanics and engineers who barely knew how to operate the ships. The screens displayed the chaos of the evacuation, overcrowded ships launching from the planet's surface while hegemony vessels drew closer. With 12 hours left, Yu Jin had evacuated 2 million people, Jinwoo said. 1 million remained on the surface and the hegemony fleet had finally arrived. 200 ships against her 24 damaged vessels. Velthar's colors had settled into a deep, sorrowful blue. What did Commander Yu Jin choose to do? Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment before answering. She ordered the evacuation ships to retreat to safety. Then she took her remaining warships and attacked the hegemony fleet directly, not to win but to buy time for one last transport run. The screens showed the final battle, human ships burning as they threw themselves against overwhelming odds. Yu Jin's flagship lasted 18 minutes against the entire hegemony fleet, Jinwoo said. In those 18 minutes, her transport ships managed to evacuate another 100,000 people. When her ship finally exploded, she was still transmitting target coordinates to help the transports avoid enemy fire. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of alien machinery. 900,000 people died on New Sol, Jinwoo continued. But 2.1 million lived because Yujin decided that impossible mathematics were still worth attempting. The screen shifted to show other colony worlds, each one marked with the same pattern of biological devastation. The hegemony released their plague on 17 more worlds over the next 6 months, Jinwoo said. Each time we managed to save some of the population, but never all of it. 15 billion humans died in what they called the cleansing campaign. Jinwoo's mechanical fingers drummed against the crystal desk, a steady rhythm like a funeral march. That was when Dr. Yoon Seo approached High Command with Project Lazarus, he said. She had been studying the biological weapon, trying to find a cure. Instead, she found something better. Images appeared of a stern-faced woman in a laboratory coat, surrounded by complex scientific equipment and biological samples. Dr. Yoon Seo discovered that the hegemony weapon had a fatal flaw, Jinwoo explained. It was designed to be perfect, to kill quickly and completely without leaving survivors who might develop immunity. But perfection made it predictable. The screens displayed complex genetic charts and molecular diagrams, scientific data that painted a picture of hope emerging from despair. Humans have short lifespans compared to most galactic species, Jinwoo continued. We reproduce faster, adapt quicker, evolve more rapidly. Dr. Yoon Seo realized we could turn our weakness into strength. Velthar's crystalline form brightened with curiosity. She developed a counter-virus, Jinwoo explained. Not a cure for the plague, but something that would make humans immune to all future biological attacks. It worked by accelerating our natural evolutionary processes, helping our immune systems adapt in real time to any foreign threat. The images showed human volunteers receiving the treatment, their genetic codes shifting and changing as the enhancement took effect. The first test was on Kepler colony, Jinwoo said. The hegemony hit it with their strongest biological weapon, enough poison to kill every living thing on the planet twice over. Colonel Kyung-ho led the defense force, all of them volunteers who had received Dr. Yoon Seo's treatment. The screens displayed the aftermath of the attack, showing human soldiers walking unharmed through environments that should have been instantly lethal. Not only did the enhanced humans survive, Jinwoo continued, but they turned the hegemony's own weapon against them. The biological agents that were meant to kill us instead made us stronger, faster, more resilient. Images flashed past showing human forces moving through alien positions with seemingly supernatural ability, adapting to energy weapons and environmental hazards in real time. Within 6 months, every human in the fleet had received the enhancement, Jinwoo said. We became something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that could not be poisoned, could not be broken, could not be stopped by any biological weapon. Jinwoo leaned forward, his scarred face hard with determination. The hegemony had tried to exterminate us, he said. Instead, they had given us exactly what we needed to exterminate them. The screen showed human fleets beginning their final offensive, ships bearing the flag of a species that had been pushed to the edge of extinction and refused to fall. The real war was about to begin. Jinwoo's eyes blazed with remembered fire as he described humanity's final offensive. The crystal being across from him had shifted to deep purple, a color the translator marked as intense fascination. The enhanced humans were ready for war, Jinwoo began, but we needed a target that would break the hegemony's will to fight. High Command chose the Nexus Gates, the most heavily defended position in known space. The screens displayed images of massive ring-shaped structures floating in the void, each one large enough for entire fleets to pass through. Energy barriers flickered between the rings, creating an impenetrable wall of force. The Nexus Gates controlled access to the hegemony's core territories, Jinwoo explained. 12 races had built them together over 300 years. They were protected by automated defense systems, minefields, and a permanent garrison of 5,000 ships. Velthar's crystalline form pulsed with soft light. How could any force hope to breach such defenses? Captain Sungmin had a plan, Jinwoo replied. He had studied the gate's construction records captured during one of our raids. The defense systems were designed to stop large fleets using conventional attack patterns. But they had one weakness. Images appeared of a young man with intelligent eyes and steady hands, standing before a holographic model of the Nexus gates. The gate's power source was at the center of the formation, Jinwoo continued, an artificial star that provided energy for the defensive systems. Sungmin realized that if we could reach the power source, we could turn the gate's own weapons against the hegemony fleet. The screen showed tactical diagrams of the complex approach route through the defensive barriers, a path so narrow and dangerous that it seemed impossible to navigate. Sungmin volunteered to lead the breakthrough mission, Jinwoo said. One ship enhanced human crew, flying through defenses that had never been penetrated in 3 centuries of operation. The chamber fell silent as Jinwoo remembered that desperate gamble. I was commanding the main fleet, positioned just outside the gate's sensor range, he continued. Our job was to create a distraction while Sungmin made his run. We had 400 ships against the hegemony's 5,000. But the enhanced humans gave us advantages the enemy couldn't predict. Images flashed past showing the opening phases of the battle. Human ships moving with inhuman precision and speed as they engaged the massive hegemony fleet. The enhanced humans could react faster than any organic nervous system, Jinwoo explained. They could withstand acceleration forces that would kill normal people, survive in damaged ships without life support, adapt to weapons that should have been instantly lethal. The screens displayed combat footage from human ships, showing crew members working calmly in environments filled with radiation and toxic gases. But the real advantage was psychological, Jinwoo continued. The hegemony had spent months preparing for this battle. They knew exactly how many ships we had, what weapons we carried, what our tactical capabilities should be. They had run thousands of computer simulations and were confident of victory. Jinwoo's mechanical arm gestured toward the tactical displays, showing the battle's progression. None of their simulations had accounted for humans who could not be killed by conventional means, he said. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Crews that should have been dead kept manning their stations. We turned their mathematical certainty into chaos and fear. The images showed hegemony ships beginning to break formation as human vessels continued fighting despite taking what should have been fatal damage. While the main battle raged, Captain Sungmin made his approach to the power source, Jinwoo continued. His ship was a modified courier vessel, fast and small enough to slip through the defensive grid. But it was also fragile, barely armed, with only enough shielding to survive a few direct hits. The screens tracked the tiny ship's progress through the maze of defensive systems, dodging automated weapons and energy barriers by margins measured in meters. Sungmin's crew had been enhanced beyond normal human limits, Jinwoo explained. They could process information faster, react more quickly, work together with perfect coordination. But they were still flying through the most dangerous defensive position in the galaxy. Images from the ship's cameras showed the interior during the approach run. Crew members working with supernatural calm as explosions bloomed around their vessel. They lost main power twice, life support once, and took 17 direct hits that should have destroyed them, Jinwoo said. But enhanced humans can survive in vacuum for short periods, can function without normal life support systems, can repair damage that would cripple normal crews. The screen showed the moment when Sungmin's ship reached the artificial star at the heart of the gates, a ball of contained fusion that provided power for the entire defensive network. Sungmin didn't try to destroy the power source, Jinwoo continued. Instead, he uploaded a virus into the control systems, one designed by Dr. Yoon Seo to turn the gate's weapons against the hegemony fleet. The battle imagery shifted dramatically as the massive defensive platforms began firing on their own ships. Energy beams that had protected the gates for centuries now tearing through hegemony vessels. The enemy fleet was caught completely off guard, Jinwoo said. They had positioned themselves inside the defensive perimeter, trusting in the gate's protection. When those same defenses turned against them, they had nowhere to run. The screens displayed the systematic destruction of the hegemony fleet, thousands of ships caught in a crossfire between human forces and their own defensive systems. The battle lasted 3 days, Jinwoo continued. When it ended, the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy no longer existed as a fighting force. Of the 5,000 ships that had defended the gates, fewer than 200 escaped. Velthar's colors had cycled through the entire spectrum during Jinwoo's account, finally settling on a pale, stunned white. "What happened to Captain Sung-min?" the interviewer asked. "His ship was damaged beyond repair during the approach run," Jinwoo replied. "But the enhanced crew survived long enough to complete the mission. Sung-min died at his post, still transmitting targeting data to help our ships finish off the remaining hegemony forces." The chamber was quiet for a moment before Jinwoo continued. 2 days later, representatives from all 12 hegemony species requested a meeting under flags of truce, he said. They wanted to discuss terms for ending the war. The screens showed images of alien diplomats arriving at a neutral space station, their ships escorted by human vessels that had once been considered primitive and weak. "The surrender ceremony took place on the ruins of Nexus Station," Jinwoo said. Major Boram accepted the formal capitulation on behalf of humanity. She was standing in what had once been the galaxy's most impregnable fortress, now reduced to twisted metal and broken dreams. Images appeared of the ceremony, a young woman in human military uniform receiving the surrender of beings whose civilizations were older than human, recorded history. The terms were simple, Jinwoo continued. The hegemony would withdraw from all human territory and pay reparations for the worlds they had destroyed. They would disband their military alliance and accept human oversight of their remaining fleets. Jinwoo leaned back in his chair, his scarred face reflecting the glow of the screens. In less than 4 years, humanity had gone from a single-world species facing extinction to the dominant military power in this sector of the galaxy, he said. We had done what 12 ancient civilizations working together could not do. Velthar's crystalline form pulsed with soft, respectful light. What was the cost of this victory? The interviewer asked. Jinwoo's expression grew somber as he prepared to answer the most difficult question of all. Jinwoo stared at his mechanical hand for a long moment before answering Velthar's question about the cost of victory. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of every decision he had made during the war. 47 million humans died in the fighting, he said quietly. 15 billion more died from the biological weapons. 18 colony worlds were left uninhabitable. 300 years of human civilization nearly ended in 4 years of warfare. The screens around the chamber displayed images of the aftermath. Burned worlds and memorial walls covered with names of the fallen. But the real cost wasn't counted in numbers, Jinwoo continued. It was counted in what we became. The enhancements that Dr. Yoon Seo developed saved our species, but they changed us in ways we're still learning to understand. Velthar's crystalline form shifted to a gentle blue, indicating compassion according to the translation notes. Enhanced humans are stronger, faster, more resilient than our ancestors, Jinwoo explained. We can survive in environments that would kill normal people, adapt to threats in real time, work together with perfect coordination. But we're also different in subtler ways. Images appeared showing enhanced humans working on various projects, their movements precise and coordinated in ways that seemed almost mechanical. We feel emotions differently now, Jinwoo said. Fear, anger, love, loss, they're all still there, but filtered through neural pathways that have been optimized for survival. Sometimes I wonder if we're still the same species that once looked up at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. The Admiral's scarred face reflected the soft light from the surrounding screens as he continued his reflection. After the surrender, we faced a choice, he said. We could have ruled the galaxy through fear, become the very thing we had fought against. Many humans wanted exactly that. They had lost families, friends, entire worlds to hegemony aggression. They wanted revenge. The screens displayed images of human fleets patrolling former hegemony territory, weapons trained on worlds that had once been enemy strongholds. But we chose a different path, Jinwoo continued. We chose to rebuild instead of ruling through terror. It wasn't an easy choice, and not everyone agreed with it. Images flashed past showing human engineers working alongside alien technicians to repair damaged infrastructure, human doctors treating patients from species that had recently been at war with Earth. The Terran Federation was established 18 months after the war ended, Jinwoo explained. Instead of an empire built on conquest, we created an alliance based on mutual protection and shared prosperity. Former hegemony worlds could join voluntarily, with full rights and representation. Velthar's colors shifted to curious yellow. Why would humanity choose to share power with former enemies? Jinwoo smiled, the first genuine expression of warmth he had shown during the entire interview. Because we learned something important during the war, he said. Fighting to survive is one thing. Fighting to protect what you love is something else entirely. And what we loved most about humanity was our ability to hope for something better. The screens displayed images of integrated crews working on exploration vessels, humans and aliens side by side as they pushed into unexplored regions of space. Today, there are over 60 species in the Terran Federation. Jinwoo continued. Human military academies train officers from 40 different worlds. Our exploration fleets include scientists and engineers from civilizations we once fought against. Images appeared of diverse groups working together on scientific projects, their different biological and technological capabilities combining to achieve things no single species could accomplish alone. The ship we're on right now is a perfect example, Jinwoo said, gesturing around the chamber. This is the research vessel Harmony, jointly operated by the Terran Federation and the former Hegemony Council. Half the crew is human, half is from various alien species. They're exploring the Outer Rim together, mapping new star systems and looking for signs of other civilizations. Velthar's crystalline form brightened with interest. And there is no conflict between former enemies? Oh, there's conflict, Jinwoo admitted with a chuckle. Human engineers argue with alien technicians about the best way to design hyperdrive systems. Human doctors debate alien physicians about treatment protocols. Human explorers compete with alien scouts to see who can map new territories faster. The screen showed various scenes of friendly competition and heated debates between humans and aliens working on joint projects. But it's productive conflict now, Jinwoo continued. Competition that makes everyone better instead of war that destroys everything. We learned during the fighting that we're stronger when we work together than when we work alone. The Admiral leaned forward, his mechanical arm whirring softly as he gestured toward the alien interviewer. You asked me earlier why humans chose to fight when the odds were impossible, he said. The answer is simple. We fight because we love something enough to die for it. Our families, our homes, our freedom to choose our own path among the stars. Jinwoo's voice grew stronger, carrying the authority that had once commanded fleets across star systems. But love isn't just about protecting what you have, he continued. It's about building something better for the next generation. Every human who died in this war died believing that their sacrifice would create a galaxy where their children could live in peace. The screens displayed images of the newest generation, human and alien children learning together in integrated schools, playing games that combine traditions from dozens of different worlds. The enhanced humans will eventually have children of their own, Jinwoo said. We don't know yet what those children will be like, whether they'll inherit our modifications or develop new abilities we can't predict. But we know they'll grow up in a galaxy where cooperation is stronger than conquest. Velthar's colors had settled into a warm golden hue that the translator marked as deep respect. What message would you give to the species watching this broadcast? The interviewer asked. Jinwoo was quiet for a moment, considering his words carefully. Humans didn't win this war because we were the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, he said finally. We won because we refused to give up on the things that mattered most to us. When everything seemed impossible, we found ways to make the impossible work. The screens around the chamber displayed images from throughout human history, showing the species' long journey from a single world to the stars. Every species in this galaxy has something unique to offer, Jinwoo continued. Some have technologies we could never develop on our own. Others have perspectives that challenge our assumptions and make us think in new ways. The hegemony tried to force conformity through conquest. We're trying to build strength through diversity. Jinwoo stood up from his chair, his mechanical arm extending in what had once been a gesture of friendship and was now recognized as such throughout the galaxy. The war is over, he said. The killing has stopped. Now we have the chance to build something that's worth all the sacrifice it took to get here. A galaxy where different species can work together to face challenges that none of us could handle alone. The final images on the screens showed the current state of the galaxy. Dozens of species cooperating on projects that ranged from terraforming dead worlds to exploring the mysteries of deep space. This interview is being broadcast to 17 star systems, Velthar noted. Representatives from 43 different species are watching. Many of them once considered humanity their enemy. Jinwoo nodded, looking directly into the recording sensors. To those who fought against us, I say this, he began. The past cannot be changed, but the future is still being written. We can choose to let old hatred define us, or we can choose to build something better together. His scarred face softened as he delivered his final message. To those who are just now learning about humanity, I want you to know that we are not conquerors seeking empire. We are explorers seeking knowledge, builders seeking progress, protectors seeking peace. We offer our hand in friendship to any species willing to join us in building a better galaxy. Jinwoo sat back down, his interview complete. The weight of memory and responsibility showed in his posture. But so did something else. Hope that Velthar's crystalline form pulsed with soft, respectful light as the broadcast ended. Admiral Jinwoo Park, the interviewer said formally, thank you for sharing your story with the galaxy. As the recording equipment powered down and the screens around the chamber dimmed, Jinwoo looked out through the observation port at the stars beyond. Somewhere among those distant lights were worlds being rebuilt, species learning to trust each other again, and children growing up in a galaxy where the greatest adventures lay not in conquest but in discovery. The war was over. The peace had just begun,